Admiral Hyun-woo Kim stood on the bridge of the UES Dauntless, watching the stars through the massive viewing window. The ship floated in space near Earth's moon, part of humanity's defense fleet. Hyun-woo had commanded ships for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like what appeared on his screens that morning. "Sir, we have unknown contacts dropping out of hyperspace near Jupiter," reported Lieutenant Sang-ho Park from the sensor station. His voice stayed calm, but Hyun-woo could hear the worry underneath. The bridge crew turned to look at the main display. Huge shapes appeared on the screen, bigger than any human ship ever built. They looked like giant crystals, smooth and shining, catching the light from the distant sun. There were dozens of them arranged in perfect formation. "How many?" Hyun-woo asked. 247 ships, Admiral. The smallest one is 3 times bigger than our largest battleship." Captain So-young Park, who commanded the destroyer Indomitable, appeared on the communication screen. Her ship patrolled the outer system, closer to the alien fleet. "Admiral, these ships are unlike anything in our databases. Their hull material appears to be some kind of living crystal. Energy readings are off the charts." Hyun-woo nodded slowly. Humanity had always wondered when they would meet other intelligent life. They had hoped it would be peaceful. Looking at the alien formation, he doubted these visitors came in peace. "Send the first contact protocol," he ordered. "All frequencies, all languages we know." The communication officer, Ensign Eugene Lee, worked at her station. "Broadcasting now, sir." Standard greeting and welcome message. They waited. Space remained quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Then the aliens responded. The voice that came through the speakers was cold and mechanical. It spoke perfect English, which surprised everyone on the bridge. "Primitive humans of the third planet. I am Fleet Commander Velthak of the Keltharian Empire. Your species has been selected for conquest." The bridge fell silent. Hyun-woo felt his heart beat faster, but he kept his face calm. His crew looked to him for leadership. "We are the dominant force in this sector of the galaxy," the alien voice continued. "We have conquered 200 worlds. Your resistance is pointless. You have 72 hours to surrender your planet and submit to Keltharian rule." Hyun-woo stepped forward. "This is Admiral Hyun-woo Kim of the United Earth Space Navy. Earth is not interested in conquest or submission. We suggest you leave our system peacefully." Harsh laughter came through the speakers. "Your primitive weapons cannot harm our ships. Our shields have never been broken. Our plasma weapons can destroy your largest ships with a single shot. 72 hours, humans. Use them wisely." The communication ended. The bridge crew looked at each other with worried faces. Lieutenant Commander Jae-ho Lee, the ship's weapons officer, shook his head. "Admiral, our missiles and laser batteries won't scratch those ships if they have the shield technology they claim." Far across the system, on a hidden base built inside a large asteroid, Dr. Tae-jin Yoon watched the alien ships through powerful telescopes. He had spent the last 15 years working on a secret project. The Kinetic Weapons Division operated in complete secrecy, known only to the highest levels of Earth's military. "Dr. Yoon, are you seeing this?" asked his assistant, Engineer Ko Woon. She pointed at the energy readings from the alien ships. "Those shield frequencies are exactly what we predicted." Tae-jin smiled grimly. "Yes, they are. Energy shields designed to stop plasma and laser weapons. They probably never encountered kinetic projectiles moving at high speed." The research station was one of 12 hidden throughout the asteroid belt. Each one looked like a normal mining operation from the outside. Inside, they housed the most advanced weapons humanity had ever built. Electromagnetic railguns capable of accelerating metal projectiles to incredible speeds. "How long until the main batteries are ready?" Tae-jin asked. 48 hours for full power, Ko replied. "The capacitor arrays need time to charge completely." Back on the Dauntless, Admiral Hyun-woo called an emergency meeting with his senior officers. Captain So-young joined by video link from her ship. "Options?" he asked simply. "We could evacuate the civilian population," suggested Commander Dong-hyun Nam, who oversaw the defense platforms scattered through the system. "Get people to the outer colonies before the aliens arrive." "That would take months," So-young pointed out. "We have 3 days. What about negotiation?" asked Jae-ho. "Maybe they want something we can give them without surrendering." Hyun-woo shook his head. "Did you hear their tone? They want conquest, pure and simple. They see us as primitives to be enslaved." On the alien flagship Dominion's Edge, Fleet Commander Velthak studied the data his ships had collected about humanity. The information came from intercepted communications and long-range scans of human ships and stations. Sub-Commander Hector, what do you make of these humans? He asked his second-in-command. Primitive, as expected, Hector replied. They still use chemical rockets for propulsion. Their weapons are simple projectiles and basic energy weapons. Their largest ships are smaller than our escort vessels. Any surprises in their technology? None that we can detect. They appear to be a typical young species. No exotic matter manipulation, no advanced energy shields, no plasma weapons. They won't even slow us down. Velthak nodded with satisfaction. 200 worlds had fallen to the Keltharian Empire. Each one had put up more resistance than these humans appeared capable of. Some had possessed powerful energy weapons or advanced defensive systems. Humanity seemed to have neither. To demonstrate their power, Velthak ordered an attack on one of the mining stations near Jupiter. A single Keltharian cruiser broke formation and approached the small outpost. The station sent desperate calls for help, but human ships were too far away. The Keltharian vessel fired once. A brilliant beam of plasma cut through the station's hull like a knife through paper. The entire structure exploded in a flash of light and debris. Every human ship and station in the system detected the explosion. The message was clear. Resistance was useless. On Earth, emergency meetings began in every capital. World leaders demanded to know what the military planned to do. Most wanted to evacuate or negotiate. A few called for immediate attack, despite the hopeless odds. Admiral Hyunwoo received orders to prepare for evacuation of key personnel and to organize whatever resistance was possible. Everyone knew it was hopeless, but humanity would not surrender without a fight. He looked out at the stars again, thinking about his daughter on Mars and his parents on Earth. The aliens gave them 3 days. It would have to be enough. In the hidden asteroid base, Dr. Tae Jin Yoon began the final preparations. His life's work was about to be tested against an enemy that had conquered half the galaxy. Simple physics against advanced alien technology. The aliens had studied humanity and found them primitive. They had not studied them carefully enough. Time was running out. Fleet Commander Velthak walked through the command center of his flagship, the Dominion's Edge. The massive ship stretched for kilometers, its crystal hull gleaming under the distant light of the human star. Around him, his officers worked at their stations, monitoring the primitive world they would soon conquer. "Show me the human military assessment again," he commanded. Sub-Commander Hector activated the holographic display. Images of human ships appeared in the air, rotating slowly. As you can see, their largest vessels are barely the size of our smallest scouts. Their weapons are chemical projectiles and simple energy beams. Power output is negligible. Velthak nodded with satisfaction. In his 50 years of conquest, he had never encountered a species this weak. Most races at least possessed energy shields or plasma weapons when the Keltharians found them. Humans seemed to have neither. "What about their numbers?" asked another officer. "Approximately 3,000 vessels of all sizes," Hector replied. "Most are civilian transports and cargo ships. Their actual military fleet consists of perhaps 500 combat vessels, none larger than a light cruiser by our standards." The Keltharian officers shared looks of amusement. Their own fleet contained nearly 250 heavy battleships, each one capable of destroying multiple human vessels with a single shot. Far across the solar system, Captain Mi-sun Choi piloted her ship through the dangerous space near the alien fleet. The Shadow Runner was humanity's most advanced stealth vessel, designed for reconnaissance missions deep in enemy territory. Its hull absorbed sensor beams and its engines ran silent, making it nearly invisible. "Getting good readings on their shield frequencies," reported her sensor operator, Lieutenant Bo-Ram Kim. Dr. Yoon was right about the energy patterns. Mi-sun kept her ship at maximum stealth, knowing that discovery meant certain death. The alien vessels were beautiful in their own way, like enormous gems floating in space, but she could see the weapon ports along their hulls, dark openings that could fire planet-killing beams. "How many different ship classes?" she whispered, though there was no one to hear them in the vacuum of space. "At least 12 distinct designs. The smallest are about 800 meters long. The largest," Boram paused, checking his readings again. "The largest are over 4 kilometers from nose to tail." Mi-sun had served in the Space Navy for 15 years. She had seen humanity's biggest battleships, impressive vessels that took years to build and represented the peak of human engineering. The alien scouts were bigger than humanity's flagships. Any weaknesses? She asked hopefully. Hard to tell from this distance. But Mi-sun, their power output is incredible. Each of those big ships generates more energy than our entire home fleet. On the alien flagship, Velthek received reports from his subordinates throughout the fleet. The humans were behaving exactly as predicted. Their ships had pulled back to defensive positions around their inner planets. Some civilian vessels were attempting to evacuate important personnel, but most of the population remained on the surface. Should we begin bombardment of their military installations? Asked Hector. Not yet, Velthek replied. Let them worry for the full 72 hours. Fear makes conquest easier. When we do attack, I want to see complete surrender within the first day. He had used this strategy many times before. A show of overwhelming force followed by a brief wait, then decisive action. Most species surrendered rather than face annihilation. The few that fought usually collapsed after their first major defeat. Back on Earth, Dr. Tae-jin Yoon worked frantically in his laboratory beneath the capital city. The kinetic weapons project had been his life for 15 years. What had started as theoretical research had become humanity's only hope. The capacitors are charging ahead of schedule, reported engineer Ko Woon from her station. Banks of equipment hummed with barely contained energy. We should have full power 6 hours early. Good, Tae-jin replied, not looking up from his calculations. We'll need every advantage we can get. The principles behind their weapons were simple. Electromagnetic coils would accelerate metal projectiles to extremely high speeds using magnetic fields. The projectiles would be small, just a few tons each, but they would travel fast enough to carry enormous amounts of kinetic energy. How fast will they be moving when they hit? Asked his young assistant engineer Junho Song. About 12% of light speed, Tae-jin answered. Fast enough that the aliens won't see them coming until it's too late to react. Ko looked worried. The power requirements are massive. We'll drain the output of 3 fusion plants in less than an hour. Better to use all our power in one decisive strike than to save it for a battle we can't win, Tae-jin said firmly. In space near Mars, Commander Dong-hyun Nam supervised the final preparations on the hidden weapons platforms. Each platform had been disguised as a mining station or research facility. The alien scouts had detected them but dismissed them as civilian installations. Platform 7 reports ready for combat, announced his communications officer. That makes 9, Dong-hyun noted. How long for the remaining 3? Platforms 3 and 11 need another 18 hours. Platform 5 has a problem with its targeting computer. Dong-hyun frowned. They needed all 12 platforms working perfectly for the attack to succeed. Each platform mounted multiple railgun batteries, carefully aimed and coordinated by computer systems. Miss with even one platform, and the aliens might realize what was happening. Get our best technicians to Platform 5 immediately, he ordered. On the Dominion's edge, Velthek studied intelligence reports about human society. The species fascinated him in their primitiveness. They still fought wars among themselves over resources and territory. Their governments were divided and quarrelsome. Most concerning, they showed no signs of the advanced physics understanding that marked truly dangerous civilizations. Have they made any attempts to contact other species for help? He asked. None detected, replied his intelligence officer. They appear to be completely isolated. No evidence of faster-than-light communication with other worlds. This was exactly what Velthek expected. Young species rarely had allies when the Keltharians found them. By the time they developed enough technology to interest the Empire, it was usually too late to find friends among the older races. What about their defensive preparations? Minimal. Their ships have pulled back to form a defensive line around their inner planets, but they're vastly outnumbered. Some military installations are powered up, but nothing we haven't seen before. Velthek felt a moment of disappointment. He preferred conquests that offered at least some challenge. These humans would provide barely any entertainment before their surrender. Captain Mi-sun Choi maneuvered her stealth ship closer to the alien formation, taking enormous risks to gather detailed sensor readings. Her crew worked silently, knowing that one wrong move would destroy them all. I'm detecting some kind of exotic matter in their hulls, whispered Lieutenant Boram Kim. It's not just crystal. There's some kind of energy matrix running through the entire structure. That explains their toughness, Mi-sun replied. Our conventional weapons probably couldn't scratch them even without shields. She had seen the demonstration near Jupiter, where a single alien ship had destroyed a mining station with one shot. The plasma beam had cut through metal and rock like they were made of paper. "How long until they reach Earth?" she asked. "At their current speed, about 40 hours. Misun made her decision. They had gathered enough information. Time to get back to base and report what they had learned. "Set course for home," she ordered quietly. Best possible stealth. As the Shadow Runner crept away from the alien fleet, its crew knew they carried information that might save humanity, or might confirm that their species was doomed. The countdown continued. Less than 2 days remained before the most powerful fleet in the galaxy reached Earth. Against them stood humanity's small collection of primitive ships and a secret weapon that had never been tested in combat. The aliens had studied humanity and found them weak. Soon they would learn the difference between appearing weak and actually being weak. Admiral Hyunwoo Kim stood in the war room deep beneath Geneva, surrounded by screens showing the position of every ship in the solar system. The alien fleet had begun its final approach toward Earth, moving in the elegant formation their species called the Stellar Claw. "Operation Steel Rain is a go," he announced to the assembled officers. "Remember, we need to look desperate and disorganized." The aliens must believe they're facing nothing more than primitive resistance. Captain So-Young Park nodded from her position at the tactical display. "My destroyer groups are ready to begin the deception attacks near Mars. We'll make it look like we're trying our best with conventional weapons." The plan was dangerous and required perfect timing. Human ships would attack the alien formation using regular missiles and laser weapons, knowing these attacks would fail completely. The goal was not to hurt the aliens, but to convince them that humanity had no better weapons to offer. "What about casualties?" asked Commander Dong Hyun Nam quietly. "We'll lose ships," Hyunwoo admitted. "Some of our people will die to sell this deception. But if we succeed, we save billions." High above Mars, Major Yoon-ji Bae prepared her fighter squadron for what everyone knew was a suicide mission. The small fast ships would attack the alien scouts, drawing their fire and showing them how weak human weapons really were. "Remember," she told her pilots over the radio, "make it look real. Fire everything you have, then try to get out alive. But the mission comes first." Her squadron consisted of 24 fighters, each one carrying humanity's most advanced missiles and energy weapons. Against Keltharian shields, these weapons would be useless, but the aliens needed to see them fail. "Blue Leader, this is Blue 3, came a voice over the radio. It was Lieutenant Tae Ho Shin, her youngest pilot. "Are we really going to make a difference?" "We're going to save Earth," Yoonji replied firmly. "Trust the plan." The fighters accelerated toward the alien formation, their engines burning bright in the darkness of space. Behind them, larger human ships began their own approach, weapons charging and crews preparing for battle. On the Dominion's edge, Fleet Commander Velthak watched the approaching human forces with amusement. "How many ships are they sending against us?" "Approximately 100 combat vessels of various sizes," reported Subcommander Hektar. "Their largest ships appear to be what they call battle cruisers, still much smaller than our light cruisers." "Are they seriously going to attack us?" Velthak asked with amazement. "Do they not understand the demonstration we gave them?" "Perhaps they are more primitive than we thought," another officer suggested. "Some young species attack even when they know they cannot win." Velthak had seen this behavior before. Species facing extinction sometimes fought hopeless battles rather than surrender peacefully. It was wasteful, but it did make conquest more entertaining. "Let them come," he decided. "We'll destroy half their fleet and the rest will surrender immediately." Deep in the asteroid belt, Dr. Tae Jin Yoon made final adjustments to the targeting computers. Every railgun platform was now ready, their massive electromagnetic coils charged and waiting. The weapons had never been fired at full power before. Nobody knew if they would work exactly as designed. "Platform 6 reports a problem with capacitor bank 3, announced engineer Ko Woon. "Can they fix it?" "Working on it now. They estimate 20 minutes. Tae-jin looked at the countdown timer on his screen. The first human attacks would begin in 30 minutes. Everything had to be perfect. "What about the targeting data from Captain Misun's reconnaissance?" "Uploaded to all platforms," Ko confirmed. "We have exact positions and shield frequencies for every alien ship." The railgun projectiles were already loaded into the launch tubes. Each one was a tungsten rod weighing several tons, designed to punch through any material known to science. At the speeds they would reach, the projectiles would carry more energy than nuclear weapons. Major Yunji Bei led her fighters into range of the alien scouts. The enemy ships seemed enormous compared to her small fighter, like mountains floating in space. Their crystal hulls caught the light from Mars, creating beautiful patterns that would have been peaceful in any other situation. All fighters, commence attack, she ordered. 24 fighters opened fire simultaneously. Missiles streaked toward the alien ships while energy weapons painted bright lines across the darkness. The attack looked impressive, exactly as planned. The missiles struck the alien shields and exploded harmlessly. The energy beams scattered off the defensive barriers like light off a mirror. Not a single shot penetrated to the enemy hulls, no effect, reported Blue 3. Their shields are holding perfectly. This was exactly what everyone expected, but it was still frightening to see. The aliens possessed defensive technology that made them effectively immune to human weapons. The Keltharian ships responded with casual efficiency. A few small turrets turned toward the attacking fighters and fired brief pulses of plasma. The beams moved too fast to dodge. Blue 7 exploded instantly when the plasma hit. Blue 12 lost half its hull and spun away, trailing debris. Within 30 seconds, 6 fighters were destroyed and 4 more were badly damaged. All fighters withdraw, Yunji ordered. We've done what we came to do. The surviving fighters pulled back, having demonstrated perfectly that human weapons were useless against Keltharian shields. The aliens would be more confident than ever. Captain So-Young Park watched the fighter attack from her destroyer's bridge. The casual way the aliens destroyed her comrades made her angry, but she controlled her emotions. Anger would come later during the real battle. Begin our attack run, she ordered. Make it look desperate. 6 human destroyers accelerated toward the alien formation, their missile tubes loaded and energy weapons charging. Like the fighters before them, they would attack with conventional weapons and achieve nothing. Target the smallest alien ships, So-Young commanded. Maybe we can make them think we're trying to find a weakness. The destroyers fired everything they had. Dozens of missiles and energy beams struck the alien escorts. Again, the shields held easily. The aliens responded with measured plasma strikes that destroyed 2 destroyers and crippled another. On his flagship, Velthak nodded with satisfaction. The humans fight bravely but uselessly. How long until our main fleet reaches their defensive line? 18 hours at current speed, Hector replied. Should we accelerate and end this more quickly? No, let them exhaust themselves with futile attacks. When we arrive at their home world, they'll be too demoralized to resist effectively. This was going exactly as Velthak had planned. The humans were throwing away their military forces in pointless attacks that only proved how outmatched they were. By the time the Keltharian main fleet reached Earth, human resistance would be broken. But deep in a hidden asteroid base, Captain Su Bin Han prepared for the most dangerous mission of her life. Her stealth ship Whisper carried special equipment that needed to be placed very close to the alien formation. We need to plant targeting beacons on at least 12 enemy ships, she explained to her crew. The railgun computers need exact positions for maximum effectiveness. The beacons were tiny devices that would attach to alien hulls and transmit precise location data. Getting close enough to plant them meant approaching the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, while staying completely undetected. What happens if they spot us? Asked her navigator, Lieutenant Wan-Ho Park. We die, Subin answered simply. But without these beacons, the railgun strike has only a 60% chance of success. With them, we can achieve surprise across their entire formation. The Whisper crept through space toward the alien fleet, its stealth systems running at maximum power. The ship moved slowly to avoid creating detectable energy signatures, taking hours to cross distances that normal ships could cover in minutes. As they approached the alien formation, Subin could see the massive ships clearly through her viewports. Each one was a work of art, but also a weapon of terrible power. Soon, humanity would discover whether ingenious engineering could defeat advanced alien technology. The deception was working perfectly. The aliens believed they faced a primitive species with weak weapons and poor tactics. They had no idea that humanity's real weapons were still hidden, charging power and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Time was running out. In less than 18 hours, the alien fleet would reach Earth's orbital defenses. But the humans had planned for this moment, and their preparations were nearly complete. The Keltharian First Fleet moved through space in perfect formation, their crystal hulls gleaming in the light from the distant sun. Fleet Commander Velthak stood on his bridge, watching the small blue world that would soon belong to the Empire. Around him, his officers prepared for the final phase of conquest. "Human resistance has been pathetic," reported Sub-Commander Hector with satisfaction. "They've lost over 40 ships in their pointless attacks." "Our casualties are 0, Velthak nodded. The humans had fought more bravely than many species, but bravery meant nothing against superior technology. Their conventional weapons could not even scratch Keltharian shields. "How long until we reach their orbital defenses?" he asked. 6 hours, Fleet Commander. Their remaining ships are gathering around the third planet, preparing for a final stand. Through his viewports, Velthak could see the human fleet in the distance, perhaps 300 ships of various sizes, arranged in defensive formations around their home world. It would be over quickly. Deep in the asteroid belt, Admiral Hyunwoo Kim stood in the primary control center for Operation Steel Rain. Banks of computers surrounded him, each one connected to hidden railgun platforms scattered throughout the outer system. Everything humanity had worked toward for 15 years came down to the next few hours. "Status report from all platforms," he commanded. Engineer Ko Woon read from her displays. "Platforms 1 through 11 report ready for combat. Platform 12 has minor targeting issues but is operational. Power levels, all capacitors fully charged. We have enough energy for one massive coordinated strike." Dr. Taijin Yoon joined them in the control center, looking exhausted after 3 days of constant preparation. "The targeting computers are synchronized. Every railgun in the system will fire at exactly the same moment." Hyunwoo studied the tactical display showing alien ship positions. Captain Subin Han's stealth mission had been successful. Her targeting beacons were attached to key enemy vessels, providing exact location data for the attack. "How accurate will we be?" he asked. "At these distances, with relativistic projectiles, we should achieve direct hits on 70% of targeted ships," Taijin replied. "Near misses will still cause significant damage." The Admiral looked around at the people who had worked so hard to reach this moment. Engineers, technicians, officers, and scientists all united in humanity's desperate gamble. "Remember," he told them, "we get one chance. If this fails, Earth falls." Captain Mi-sun Choi watched from her position near Jupiter as the alien fleet approached its final attack position. Her reconnaissance ship Shadowrunner had been monitoring Keltharian communications, providing intelligence on their plans. "They're confident," reported her communications officer. "No changes to their formation, no additional precautions. They think this will be easy." Mi-sun felt grim satisfaction. The deception had worked perfectly. The aliens saw humanity as a primitive species with weak weapons and poor organization. They had no idea what was waiting for them. "All ships, this is Fleet Commander Velthak," came the alien broadcast across all frequencies. "You have one final opportunity to surrender. Submit now and your species will be allowed to serve the Empire. Continue to resist and face extinction." Admiral Hyunwoo Kim picked up the microphone in the control center. His response would be broadcast across the entire solar system, heard by every human and alien in the area. "This is Admiral Hyunwoo Kim of the United Earth Space Navy. Earth rejects your offer. We will never surrender our freedom to an invading force." Harsh laughter came through the speakers. "Then you have chosen death, primitive humans. Your resistance ends now." The alien fleet began its final approach toward Earth's orbital defenses. 247 massive warships, each one more powerful than anything humanity had ever built. Their plasma weapons could destroy planets. Their shields had never been penetrated, but they were moving in formation, following predictable paths through space. Their positions were known exactly, transmitted by the hidden beacons Captain Subin Han had risked her life to place. In the hidden control center, countdown timers reached 0. "All platforms report ready," announced Ko Woon. Dr. Taijin Yoon placed his hand over the firing control. 15 years of work, humanity's greatest scientific achievement, reduced to a single button. "Execute Steel Rain," ordered Admiral Hyunwoo Kim. Across the asteroid belt, 12 hidden platforms shed their disguises simultaneously. Mining equipment fell away, revealing massive electromagnetic launchers that had been secretly built over decades. Each platform mounted multiple railgun batteries, their coils charged with enough power to light entire cities. The space around each platform distorted as enormous energy fields activated. Gravitational sensors across the system detected the power surge as fusion reactors dumped their entire output into magnetic acceleration systems. Inside the launch tubes, tungsten projectiles began to move. Electromagnetic fields grabbed the metal rods and accelerated them faster than anything had ever moved before. The projectiles gained speed rapidly, pushed by magnetic forces beyond human experience. Within seconds, 300 tungsten rods were traveling at 12% of light speed. Each one weighed several tons and carried kinetic energy equivalent to nuclear weapons. They were invisible to normal sensors, detectable only by their gravitational effects on space and time. The timing was perfect. Commander Dong Hyun Nam had calculated the trajectories precisely, accounting for orbital mechanics, planetary rotation, and the relativistic effects of high-speed projectiles. Every rod would reach its target at exactly the same moment. On the Dominion's edge, Velthak prepared to order the final attack on Earth's defensive fleet. His weapons officers waited for the command to fire, ready to demonstrate Keltharian superiority one last time. All ships, prepare for, he began. The first projectile struck without warning. The tungsten rod hit Velthak's flagship at a significant fraction of light speed, carrying energy beyond imagination. The crystal hull, designed to withstand plasma cannons and energy weapons, crumpled like paper. The projectile punched completely through the massive ship, creating a perfectly straight hole from bow to stern. Secondary explosions rippled through the Dominion's edge as its power systems overloaded. The beautiful crystal structure that had survived battles across the galaxy shattered into millions of pieces. Across the Keltharian formation, identical impacts occurred simultaneously. Tungsten projectiles struck ship after ship, their kinetic energy overwhelming every defense the aliens possessed. Shields designed to deflect energy weapons provided no protection against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The battleship Knight's End split completely in half when its reactor core breached. The cruiser Stellar Pride crumpled as its crystal hull collapsed under impossible forces. The massive carrier Dawn's Victory exploded in a chain reaction that destroyed 3 nearby escort ships. In less than 30 seconds, the most powerful fleet in galactic history was reduced to debris and expanding clouds of vapor. Ships that had conquered 200 worlds were destroyed by simple metal rods accelerated by electromagnetic fields. A few alien vessels survived the initial impact. Their captains, trained warriors with decades of experience, tried desperately to understand what had happened. Their sensors detected no energy weapons, no exotic matter, no advanced technology. Just kinetic projectiles moving impossibly fast. Emergency hyperspace jump. Ordered the captain of the cruiser Dark Fang, one of 12 ships that escaped destruction. All surviving vessels retreat immediately. The remaining alien ships fled toward the edge of the solar system, their crews traumatized by the sudden destruction of their invincible fleet. They had never seen weapons like this, had never imagined that kinetic energy could be so devastating. In the hidden control center, Engineer Ko Woon stared at her displays in amazement. All platforms report successful firing. Power drain as expected. Primary targets destroyed or disabled. Admiral Hyunwoo Kim felt 20 years of military tension leave his shoulders. Around him, technicians and officers began to cheer as confirmation came in from across the system. The Keltharian First Fleet, terror of the galaxy, had been destroyed by human engineering. Dr. Tae Jin Yoon sat heavily in a chair, exhausted by the successful completion of his life's work. The railguns had performed exactly as designed. Simple physics and human determination had defeated the most advanced military force in known space. The battle was over. Humanity had won its first victory against the stars. The debris field stretched across millions of kilometers of space, glittering in the light from the distant sun. What had once been the Keltharian First Fleet was now nothing more than twisted metal and crystal fragments drifting slowly through the void. Admiral Hyunwoo Kim stood on the bridge of the UES Dauntless, watching rescue teams search through the wreckage. Human ships moved carefully through the debris, looking for survivors from the fighter squadrons that had sacrificed themselves to sell the deception. Casualty report, he requested quietly. Commander Dong Hyun Nam consulted his tablet. 43 human ships lost during the deception attacks. 207 crew members killed in action. Major Yoon-ji Bae's fighter squadron lost 8 pilots. It was a terrible price, but far less than anyone had dared hope. The railgun strike had been devastatingly effective. Of the 247 alien ships that had entered the solar system, only 12 had escaped. What about alien survivors? Hyunwoo asked. Captain Mi-sun's reconnaissance teams have found 17 escape pods so far. The aliens inside are alive but unconscious. Dr. Yoon thinks their bodies couldn't handle the sudden deceleration when their ships were hit. Far across the system, Captain Mi-sun Choi maneuvered her stealth ship Shadowrunner through the largest concentration of debris. Her crew worked carefully, using sensors to locate any signs of life among the wreckage. There, pointed Lieutenant Bo-ram Kim at his sensor station. Another escape pod about 2 kilometers to starboard. Mi-sun adjusted their course. Each alien they rescued was a potential source of information about the Keltharian Empire. Humanity needed to know what kind of retaliation to expect. The escape pod was a beautiful thing, made from the same crystal material as the alien ships. Inside they found 2 Keltharian officers in some kind of medical stasis. The aliens were tall and elegant, with features that seemed carved from living stone. They don't look so scary now, observed Bo-ram. They destroyed a mining station with 1 shot, Mi-sun reminded him. Never forget what they came here to do. In the hidden control center deep in the asteroid belt, Dr. Tae-jin Yoon reviewed the performance data from all 12 railgun platforms. The weapons had worked even better than expected, with accuracy rates exceeding their most optimistic projections. Platform 7 achieved direct hits on all 6 of its primary targets, reported Engineer Ko. Woon. Platform 3 destroyed 4 ships with near misses from the shockwaves. Alone, power consumption, exactly as calculated. We drained 3 fusion plants completely, but the capacitor banks held up perfectly. Tae-jin felt a mixture of pride and worry. The railguns had saved humanity, but they were not a perfect weapon. Each platform could fire only once before requiring hours to recharge. Against a larger fleet, or one that was prepared for kinetic weapons, the outcome might be different. Begin immediate construction of additional platforms, he ordered. We need at least 50 more installations before the Empire sends another fleet. On Earth, news of the victory spread rapidly through every city and settlement. People gathered in streets and squares, celebrating humanity's first victory against an alien invasion. But those who understood military matters knew this was only the beginning. World President Elena Vasquez addressed the United Nations Emergency Assembly via hologram. Today, humanity has proven that we will never surrender our freedom, but we must prepare for retaliation. The Keltharian Empire will not ignore the destruction of an entire fleet. In the audience, General Harrison Wright nodded grimly. His intelligence sources had already begun analysis of captured alien technology. The Keltharians were far from the most powerful species in the galaxy. If word of this defeat spread, other empires might decide to test humanity's defenses. Captain So Young Park's destroyer Indomitable moved slowly through the debris field, her crew documenting the destruction. The alien ships had been beautiful in their own way, works of art as much as weapons of war. Now they were just scrap metal floating in space. Scan that large piece of hull, she ordered her science officer. I want detailed analysis of their armor composition. The crystal material was unlike anything in human databases. It seemed to be some kind of living composite, able to repair minor damage and adapt to different types of attack. But it had proven completely vulnerable to kinetic impact at high speeds the aliens probably never encountered. Weapons like ours, observed Lieutenant J-Ho Lee. Their shields were designed for energy weapons and conventional projectiles. They had no defense against relativistic kinetic kill vehicles, so Young nodded. The human advantage was based on taking a different approach to the same physics. Instead of exotic matter and energy manipulation, humanity had focused on accelerating simple materials to extreme speeds. In a medical facility on Luna, alien prisoners began to wake up from their stasis. The first to regain consciousness was Sub-Commander Hector, former second-in-command of the destroyed flagship. Dr. Sarah Chen, humanity's leading xenobiologist, watched through reinforced glass as the alien slowly sat up in his medical bed. Hector looked around the room with obvious confusion, then focused on the humans observing him. Where? He began in accented English, then stopped. The fleet. What happened to the fleet? Your fleet was destroyed, Dr. Chen told him gently. You're a prisoner of war, but you're safe. We have medical facilities ready if you need treatment. Hector stared at her for a long moment. Destroyed? Impossible. Our shields have never been penetrated. Our weapons are the most advanced in the galaxy. Not advanced enough, Dr. Chen replied. The alien's expression changed from confusion to something like fear. What weapons did you use? We detected no energy signatures, no exotic matter reactions. Our sensors showed nothing until the impacts. Dr. Chen smiled slightly. We threw rocks at you. Very fast rocks. Deep in space, the 12 surviving Keltharian ships limped toward the edge of the solar system. Their captains had sent desperate messages back to the Empire, warning of humanity's unexpected capabilities. Captain Morthek of the cruiser Dark Fang had witnessed the destruction of the entire fleet from his position on the formation's edge. His ship had been one of the few that escaped, but barely. How fast were those projectiles moving? He asked his science officer. Approximately 12% of light speed, Captain. Far faster than anything we've encountered before. And they were just metal rods? Yes, sir. Tungsten, according to our analysis. A simple, dense metal accelerated to relativistic speeds by electromagnetic fields. Morthek felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature in his ship. The Empire had conquered worlds with far more advanced technology. But none had thought to use such primitive methods to achieve such devastating results. Back on Earth, Admiral Hyunwoo Kim convened the first meeting of humanity's new Strategic Defense Council. Representatives from every major nation sat around the table, along with military leaders and scientists. The immediate threat is over, he announced, but we must assume the Keltharian Empire will send a larger fleet for revenge. We need to be ready. Dr. Taijin Yoon presented his analysis. Our railgun platforms worked perfectly, but they have limitations. Each installation can fire only once before requiring several hours to recharge. Against a fleet of 500 ships, we'd need many more platforms. How many? Asked President Vasquez. At least 100 platforms positioned throughout the outer system. The construction will take 2 years and require the resources of every major nation. General Wright leaned forward. What about sharing this technology with other species? The Keltharians must have enemies who would welcome weapons capable of destroying their fleets. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Humanity had developed the most effective anti-ship weapons in galactic history. That technology could be their ticket to alliances with other civilizations. We proceed carefully, decided Hyunwoo. First, we build our own defenses. Then we consider diplomatic options. In the weeks that followed, the solar system became a hive of construction activity. New railgun platforms were built inside asteroids throughout the outer system. Factories worked around the clock to produce tungsten projectiles and electromagnetic coils. The victory had come at a cost, but humanity had learned a valuable lesson. Superior technology was not always about exotic physics and advanced materials. Sometimes the best solution was to take simple physics and push it to its absolute limits. Engineer Ko Woon, working on the construction of Platform 13, paused to look out at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien empires were learning about humanity's weapons. Some would see opportunity in alliance. Others would see humanity as a threat to be eliminated. But Earth was no longer defenseless. The species that had once seemed primitive now possessed weapons that could destroy the most powerful fleets in the galaxy. The balance of power among the stars was shifting, and humanity would never again be underestimated. The first fleet had collapsed when humanity revealed its railguns. It would not be the last.